Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this webcast. Hello there, I'm your host, Jennifer Wicks, coming to you live from Central Station U Studio. I'm also here with David Curvella behind the scenes here, as you can see, helping with the webcast today. Thank you, David. Glad to have everyone on board today. Please start filling out the polls on the screen so we can get started, learn a little bit more about you and everyone who's on board with us today. Please feel free to share on the right side of your screen. You see the webcast link for today's webcast here. Please feel free to share that with the rest of your team, your colleagues, friends who may also want to join this webcast. It's a very exciting topic today that's going to be very helpful for the new year. Just on the cusp here as we're heading into December. Happy December, by the way, the very first today. So you're going to learn a little bit more about Kristen and meet her in just a moment. But first, we're going to review these polls, and I want to make sure that you know that you can type in your questions, comments, anything that comes to mind throughout today's webcast. We will be getting to your comments, and we're looking for a lot of engagement from you as well. She'll be asking a lot of questions and getting your insight and feedback throughout today's session. So thank you in advance for your engagement and participation. So let's take a look at a couple of these polls here. We're going to actually, the broadcast results are already on, so that's great. Looks like most people are, in fact, today we have a lot of folks from the Chancellor's Office, so thank you for joining today. And also, let's see who's here and who's joining, what types of roles are here. We have an ISO and IT, several folks from IT, administrative analyst and auxiliaries, student financial services, and SPD, our team here, benefits, and many, many more. So thank you for sharing where you're joining from and what your role and department is. And most people are, in fact, alone at their computer. We always like to know a little bit more about how people are joining, how many folks and groups we have, helps us keep a good idea of what our savings is for each webcast that we do. So also want to let you know that we will have today's PowerPoint. Kristen's very generous in offering her PowerPoint as a PDF presentation that you can download and use as a resource, as a reference for future reference. So with that, we're going to switch on over to Footprints and ask you to just let us know where you're joining from today as far as your address. It's going to help to give us a better savings number as we capture the savings from all of the webcasts that we do. Basically, all that you need to do is type in the address from where you're joining us and your city, state, zip code, and then put in the number of attendees who may be in your group today if you are, in fact, joining in a group. And then you click on Save and Close. That'll bring us all back to this main screen here, and we can see our cumulative savings. Looks like we're just over 15,000 pounds of CO2 saved and over 18,000 US dollars, and just updated there, over 37,000 round trip miles. So this is a really great savings today. And it looks like we have, how many folks do we have on? Almost 75 or more people joining as we speak. Excellent. So let me go ahead and introduce to you our speaker for today. We're really excited to have Kristen Brown join us all the way from Minnesota today, Minneapolis. She was recently named a top 20 trailblazer in the meetings industry by Meetings Today magazine. Kristen helps busy professionals transform their goals into productive leadership, sales, and personal growth strategies, despite the stresses we face every day. She's a keynote speaker and best-selling author who partners with people-centered organizations around the U.S. to boost, to boost market share and the bottom line, including General Mills, PCMA, Cargill, Boston Scientific, Cox Automotive, and many more. Kristen spent 15 years in corporate leadership roles before a personal tragedy prompted her to shift to starting her own business. She has shared her expertise extensively in the media, including Live with Kelly, Inc. magazine, Forbes, Fox, BBC, Psychology Today, and many more. She lives in Minneapolis, as I said, with her daughter, and she says she'll do just about anything for bacon or an extra hour of sleep. So to learn more about Kristen, you can find more at KristenBrownPresents.com. And with that, we're going to switch on over and welcome Kristen to come on, and please do bring your webcam on and turn your mic on so we can make sure that we can hear you.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here today.
I am so excited to be here.
Who's Got Talent.
Excellent. Thank you.
Well, when I learned more about you, Kristen, when I came across your work and all that you do in the work of dealing with attitude and perspective, I just knew that we had to have you on to talk about outcomes and really bring us into 2017. So we're really excited that you're here to share. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and switch it on over to you. I know we're excited to dive right into your topic today. Master your work-life impact in 2017.
Thank you, thank you. So before we jump in, I want to ask a question and just type it right down below in the chat box. What are some of the biggest distractions that you face in your day? Just some of the biggest stuff that you face that prevents you from really making that impact you want to make. Just a quick little type there. See what people are saying. Email. Angie says interruptions. Morgan, too much to do. Michelle, phone calls. Ooh, the studio, too much time driving. Andy, email. Suzanne, too much to do. So we have so much to do. We're overloaded. But when you wake up in the morning, you have actually really good intentions, don't you? Of getting a lot done, of making an impact at work and having an impact on your family in a positive way. But things pop up. It's just inevitable that throughout our day we're going to face, a few little distractions, both big and small. So I want to just go through a few of the most common ones because I think some of these will resonate. So you wake up in the morning and just getting out of the house can be quite a challenge. Whether you have kids or not, you might get up, you're tripping over the dog. There's all kinds of things that are just preventing you from making a positive impact from the moment your feet hit the floor. Then you keep going throughout your day. You get out of the house, you go into traffic. Now, whether you actually have traffic jams or really long commutes, or whether you live in a small town, there are things that can really rattle us on the road. I grew up in a small town in western Minnesota where we didn't have traffic jams, but we had tractor jams, or we had my grandpa driving 30 miles an hour on the highway, and you'd get stuck behind him and the other senior citizens in town. So when you're driving, there are hassles that can take you down and impact your mood and the way that you're showing up in the world. But then you get to work, and there is that moment where you sit down at your desk, or you stand in front of your classroom, or you are doing whatever it is that you do in your daily tasks, and you feel like, yes, I'm back on track, I've gotten through my morning, and you're ready. Whether it's a cup of coffee, tea, you're ready for the day. Robert Downey Jr., you can now think of him every time you pour coffee. You're welcome for that. So you're back on track, you're thinking, yep, I'm ready to make an impact in my day, and then something happens. There are people that get in the way. Now, these could be coworkers, they could be students, they could be people that you deal with outside of the university system, it could be someone in your personal life, but there are people that tend to rub us the wrong way sometimes. I'm sure your group doesn't have any of that. I'm sure everyone is amazing that you work with, but sometimes it pops up where someone comes into your world and takes your attitude in the wrong direction. We're going to talk about that today. And after lunch, you think, yeah, I've made it. I've gotten through the bulk of this day. I'm on the downhill slide. I'm ready. I can get through this. I'm back on track. And then the end of the day rolls around, and you look at your to-do list, and you realize that, oh my gosh, throughout the day, I had these projects. I had these things that I needed to get done. But instead of getting those things done, I was putting out fires all day long from the moment I arrived until the moment I'm sitting here right now. And so what do you do with that to-do list? You power through the list without being very mindful about how you're approaching it. You're not very strategic about who you loop in to help you accomplish that task in the best way that you could. And you really just kind of go through that list without really thinking too much about it, as fast as you can, the shortcuts to make it happen. And that's not always the best way to go about it, but that's just the reality of many of our days. As we put out fires all day and the end of the day rolls around, we're like, oh shoot, I have to get all of this stuff done. And so then the end of the day draws near and you realize, oh, it's not just 5 o'clock somewhere, it's 5 o'clock where I am. And whether you're going to an actual happy hour or whether you're just going home, there are some shifts that happen to us in that transition time that can really benefit us throughout the day. Because when you think about what we face every single day, there's ups and downs, aren't there? There's that roller coaster of life, that roller coaster of work. And hopefully your day isn't as bad as what you see up on the screen. But it is a roller coaster. And so the goal is really to help you today make that roller coaster not quite as violent in the ups and downs, and just to smooth it out just a little bit so that you can be more mindful about your decisions, what you're putting out into the world, how you are making an impact, both at your job and in your home life as well. Because stress, when you're impacted by those things I mentioned and stress kicks off in you, it creates a massive ripple effect of symptoms, of ways that you behave. Because think about when you're stressed out. Just below in the text box again, just right below here in the chat box, type out some of the most common symptoms that you experience when you're under stress. Type them out here and let's see what people are saying. Neck pain, that's a good one. Shoulders. So yeah, that tightness of muscles when you're stressed out. Sleep, yep, getting tired, headaches, difficulty concentrating, being agitated, anxiety, head swimming, short temper. Oh yes, that's me, short temper. Annoyed, lack of focus. Yeah, all of these are such typical stress-related symptoms that we just kind of become used to them, haven't we? We've just learned to let them be a part of our lives, and they are. Stress will be a part of your life every single day. But if you can learn how to master what's coming your way so that the stress doesn't set you off in the wrong ways, it can really make a huge difference on how you're able to impact the people around you, impact your own success as well. So we're going to talk about that today too. So how are we going to approach this? Because that roller coaster is crazy, stress is crazy in our lives, we don't have enough time, we're always juggling. And I have a framework that I use called the happy hour effect. Now, people hear that and they're like, "Ooh, I like happy hour." Happy hour, people think about that and it can be related to drinking or not. Here, we're not talking about alcohol. We are talking about the mindset shifts that I alluded to earlier that happen in that transition time between work and home. It's that letting go. It's the changes that happen in your body. And people always ask me, well, that sounds really fun, but how did you come up with this? Well, there's actually some research and science behind this. I am a researcher by nature. From 4th grade on, I wanted to be a doctor. I went to the International Science Fair in high school and have always had research in my blood. And in corporate America, where I spent 15 years of my life, I was also in research and did market research, and I like to say corporate espionage because it sounds a lot cooler than market research. But that's what I did for 15 years in corporate America. And then unexpectedly, I had a personal tragedy happen where I was in a high-level VP level role, managing our company's largest retail account, had a daughter, 10 months old, was married, lived here in Minneapolis, and my young husband died unexpectedly at the age of 30. Tall, skinny college athlete, had just been given a clean bill of health at a recent physical. And I can talk about this now because it was 9 years ago. But at the time, it took me down. It took me down badly. And I was still going to work, but the stress of my personal life and then the stress of a brand new boss 2 weeks later that wanted me to travel, work long hours. She was a nighttime caller and emailer, wanted responses from me in the middle of the night. That caused professional stress. And all of that stress really started to impact me, my health, my thinking, my decision making. And I wanted to know, as a researcher, why that was happening. Why was stress causing me all of these other symptoms? Because at the time, that time in my life, I didn't know all the background on stress. I knew it was just a thing we all had. And at the same time, I was also missing going to happy hour. A, because I wasn't very happy, so I didn't feel like going to a happy hour. But B, I was missing something and I wanted to know why. So I actually started doing some research around happy hour and what it was that I was missing. I knew it wasn't about the alcohol because this is a in poor taste joke, but you can drink at home if you need to. And so I knew it wasn't about that. I knew there was something else that I was missing by not being able to go to happy hour. And so I did some actual structured research around it, both quantitative and qualitative. I did surveys, focus groups around happy hour and found that there are 5 things that actually happen to us during that transition time I mentioned earlier. Again, whether you're going to sit in a happy hour with other people or whether you're just making that transition from work to home. And these can benefit you all day, both in your job and in your personal life. So I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of what these 5 are, but then we're going to dive into each of them a little bit more deeply so that you can understand how this can help you really master your impact in 2017, which is really what this presentation is all about. So the first thing that came out of the research is that your presence is really critical during happy hour, because when you leave work and you go into a happy hour, you are with other human beings and you're really your true self. You let go of that person that you thought you needed to be during the day and you become who you really are. That ties directly to people, the next element, which is you're sitting with humans again. In today's world, we're like this on our phones, we're at our computer screens, we're on our phones all the time. And that's good. We need technology. That's not going away. But oftentimes we forget that there's that human eye-to-eye connection that we need to make. And at happy hour, we're doing that again. We're sitting face to face across the table and creating that people connection again. The third element, which ties to that also, is when you're talking to people, you're your true self, your passions actually come out, your true passions. You may talk shop and talk a little work talk for a little bit, but inevitably the conversation turns to those things that you love. It might be your kids, it might be your spouse, it might be your pets, it might be hobbies. You have those million-dollar ideas that you write down on the back of a cocktail napkin, and those things come out, and you can use that in your everyday life, both at work and at home. So that's the third element. The fourth element is productivity, which that's a work buzzword, right? How much can you get done when 3:30 rolls around and you have your to-do list? Let's crank it all out. But in happy hour effect terms, it's more about what can you get done that actually ties to how your life is set up. Because when you're sitting there with those people at happy hour, you're talking about what you've got going on in your life, what you really want to accomplish, and well, I can't do it because of this, or I can do it because of this, and you're really true with yourself at that point in time about what you want, how you're going to accomplish it. And you can do the same thing in a more structured way. What do you want to get done, but what do you actually have set up in your life to support getting that done at this point in time? And I'll give you an example of what I mean by that in a little bit. And then the final element is peace. When you step into a happy hour or when you just leave work, even if you love your job, even if you absolutely adore what you do and love the people you work with, there is a marked physical change, a mental change, and an emotional change that happens in us as we make that transition from work to home. And that is the true lifting of the burdens that we carried throughout the day and the to-do lists. And you may be going home to a different set of to-do lists, a different set of burdens. But in that moment, that transition, there is a lifting, there is a peace, knowing that even though life is crazy, even though work is one thing after another, and at home it's one thing after another, and it is that roller coaster, you still have to create peace for yourself, even amidst that chaos that we sometimes face, the good and the bad of it. And so that's really what peace is all about. And when you go to happy hour, that's what happens. You let go of what was happening during the day, and for just a moment, you release, you relax, and you feel that peace. So those are just quickly the 5 elements of the happy hour effect, how I got to it. And we're going to dive into these now just a little bit more deeply so that you can really get a sense of how you can use this in your own life to have that impact that you want to have next year. And today, you can even use some of these today, and I'll give you some ways to do that as we're going through it. So let's start with how we're going to do that with peace. Now, peace is one of those things that seems elusive because we're so busy. Today, the glorification of busy, the busier you are, the cooler you are, it seems these days. But to get to peace, I first need you to ditch a term that is one of the most commonly used terms in traditional office environments, in healthcare and education, in the mass media, and that is the term work-life balance. Now, work-life balance in theory seems like a really good idea, but it actually forces you to think that everything either needs to fit into a work bucket or a life bucket. And when you only have 2 options of where to put something, that's hard. That's a big choice, especially when something may need to go into both, especially when you've got hundreds of things that need to go into those 2 buckets. So when you're thinking about the word balance, I want you just to eliminate that word altogether. And just for fun, I want to see what other words you could come up with. So again, right down below here in the chat box, write down what other words you think are better than balance. What are some words that would make more sense? Work-life, not balance, work-life what? What are some of your ideas? Work-life integrity. I love that one. We're going to talk about that one in a little bit. Harmony. We're going to talk about that too. Integration, sanity, fulfillment. Ooh, yeah, Chris, peace. I like that. Work-life peace. Michelle Hernandez, flexibility, work-life flexibility. That one's amazing. Yes, I love these. So there are so many ways that you can look at work and life and help them play more effectively together. My favorite analogy, there's lots of them that we can use. My favorite one is work-life harmony. Lisa Lewis, you said that one. So we're on the same wavelength, Lisa. So work-life harmony, I like that term because it gives you a different way to look at the literally hundreds of things that you juggle every day. So look at this image and look at the conductor. He's right in the middle of the orchestra on that red platform. And he's up there with his baton and he's controlling hundreds of instruments, and in this case, a choir as well up on the top level. And this conductor, this maestro, he needs to decide from moment to moment what instruments play when, how loudly, how softly, which ones play now, which ones are quiet and playing in the background, how loud the percussion is. And as he's doing that, there may be a moment where the strings are having a moment, where they're taking center stage, where the strings are loud and just beautiful, and all the other instruments are silent. Does that mean the other instruments are less important? No, those other instruments are still extremely important to make the entire song sound beautiful. But for that moment, they're just kind of hanging out in the background. Still super important, still just making the whole orchestra more amazing. But for that moment, the strings are taking center stage. That is what that conductor is focusing on now. It's what he wants the audience to hear. And so as he's doing that from moment to moment, sometimes it's the strings that are quiet and the percussion's really loud. Sometimes they're all playing together. Now, think about that conductor and that responsibility that he has. What is a tool that he has to help that orchestra play more effectively together? He's got his baton, he's standing there. What else does he have? Type it down here if you think you know. Other tool that he has. Eye contact, hands, sheet music. Lola, you nailed it. He has got sheet music. He's got something in front of him that tells him that here's what I've got. Here's all the instruments that I've got to juggle right now. Here's all the notes they're supposed to play. Here's when they're supposed to play. Here's when they're all together. Here's when they're just separate. And he's got that all right in front of him. He can just look at it and he knows what's coming next. And it helps him create that harmony with all of these instruments that all sound different. They've all got different roles, but they're all super important. Your life is exactly the same way, where if you have a task that you're working on at work and it's due by the end of the day, and you get a call from school that your child is sick, oh no, now what? That is work and life not playing well together. So you have to decide for yourself, and the answer will be different depending on what's going on, but you have to decide what's going to take center stage for that moment. If you choose work and you have grandma or your spouse go pick up your child, that doesn't mean your child is less important. Your child is probably the most important thing to you, but for that moment, your child is taken care of by grandma or your spouse and playing on in the background. Still extremely important to you, but you needed to focus on that work project. Or vice versa, if you decide to go pick up your child, it doesn't mean you don't value your work. It just means it's playing on in the background. And you will get to it and it'll come back when it needs to take center stage as you've determined it. You may find a supporting player to help with that work project, to help make it all play well together. So that's why I like the term harmony. It really just gives you a way to think about everything that you juggle in a way that doesn't feel like it has to fit here or here. It all can fit. It just sometimes needs to be flexed as to how loud or soft and what takes center stage at any given time. Now, you think about an orchestra, you think about this maestro, and he's got this sheet music that's pretty valuable. Wouldn't it be nice if you also had some sheet music to help you with your juggling? Well, I'm going to give you an example of something that I've created called a life map. This life map is in your presentation that you'll get in the downloadable PDF, but you can just do this right now if you'd like to do it while I talk through it. It's literally a download of everything that you juggle, and it becomes your sheet music so that you can see what you've got going on at any given time, so that you can make better decisions, so you can see where there are halo effects and ripple effects and things that drag you down and things that energize you. And I'm going to talk you through that in a minute. So as we are talking about it, just jot some things down here. Just jot some things down, and I think Jennifer's going to upload a template of this if you'd like to use it right now, but you can easily just do this on a blank piece of paper. And I'm going to walk you through each section, and just literally as you're doing it, just write down what comes into your head. Now, this is going to be really fast because we don't have time to do this whole exercise as I normally do. Normally, I would do, probably at least an hour just on the life map, and we don't have time for that today. And it works really well when you do it as a team, a work team, and you do it in small groups. But I'm going to walk you through it so you can get a feel for it. So on the left is challenges. Challenges are those big things that you juggle that tend to take you down sometimes. Now, it's not things like, oh shoot, I'm stuck in traffic. It's the massive, big, ugly things that seem to go away for a while. You maybe think you've dealt with them, and then boom, there they are again to take you down. It could be something major that happens in your life, like a health problem. It could be something like divorce, the loss of a loved one, something from your past, like abuse, addiction. It's those big things that really you try to deal with, and sometimes you think you have, and then there they are again, and they bubble up to the surface every now and then, or often. So those are the big challenges in your life. So as you are going through this, if you're comfortable sharing, and challenges most people aren't, so I'm not going to ask you to share challenges, but I will share a couple, I'll ask you to share for some of these future sections if you're comfortable, but don't feel like you have to. So that's challenges that are on the left. On the top is passions and commitments. Passions and commitments are, I call it the stuff, just the stuff that fills up your calendar, the stuff that fills up your to-do list, both at work and at home. It can be things like commutes. It can be things like going to yoga class, taking your child to sports practice, grocery shopping, errands, maybe a standing volunteer board that you're on. Maybe you do some sort of weekly meetings. Maybe you're on a school committee. Anything that happens regularly over time would go here, as well as things that maybe you used to do as a hobby or a passion that you don't do anymore because life changed. Something happened in your life, or maybe there's something you would love to do, but you just haven't found the time or the motivation to do it. Maybe you want to learn a language or something like that. So passions and commitments would go here, and this section usually can overflow here because a lot of us have a lot of things that we've got going on here. I always suggest to people that when you're doing this section to grab your phone or your calendar or look at your online Google or Outlook calendar and just start Monday morning and look through your whole week and look at those things that just are repetitive and continually fill up your time every day and every week, and even those things that happen monthly or even yearly. That'll help you to really get a handle on what falls under passions and commitments. In the middle here is core life, and core life can sometimes also fall under here. It can sometimes fall under dreams. There can be repeats across all of these sections, but under core life, that's really those things that, man, when you wake up in the morning, they have got to be part of your day to really feel, for you to feel complete. It could be things like your children. It could be your spouse. It could be sleep goes there for me. It could be spirituality, pets. I've seen coffee and wine go there. There's no judgment here in this session. As long as it's not over here under challenges, it's fair game to go under core life. So right now when you're thinking about it, right below here, just jot down what is something that really needs to be part of your everyday for you to feel really complete, for you to feel like your life is amazing and that you need it to really feel like you. Exercise, good one, Morgan. I love that one. Pets. You know, pets are one of the best stress relievers. If you play with animals, it's scientifically proven that your cortisol levels and your adrenaline levels go down and you actually de-stress, and it's proven by science if you play with animals. Kids, family, volunteer work. Jonah, thank you. Good stuff, good stuff. So there's lots of things that can go under core life that really fill you up. On the bottom is work and money. Work and money is anything that you do to bring financial security into your home. So if you live alone, it would be just your income, your second income. Maybe you have investments. Maybe you have some sort of social security, disability, things like that. If you live with a partner or a spouse, it would be also what they bring into the household. So if they have a job, or if either of you have a second job, maybe you sell stuff on eBay, maybe you have shared investments or retirement funds, anything that brings income into your home would go under work and money. So just as you're thinking about it, either jot it down if you have the template printed out, or if you're doing it on a piece of notebook paper, just jot down some things that you do for work and money. And then over on the right, oh, the dreams category. Everyone loves the dreams category because dreams are fun and amazing. But people always ask me, well, why are they on here? Isn't this about stress and understanding what I've got going on stress-wise and what I'm juggling? Yes, but it's proven that if you have a big dream that you've had living back here for a while and you're not taking action on it, that every time you're reminded of that dream, every time that you think about it, something spurs a memory that, oh, I've got this thing I want to do, that you're not making progress on, you actually send yourself a subconscious message that you're a failure. It's like, oh, it's one more thing that you're not doing on your overflowing massive to-do list. So it's really important that you get dreams on here so that even if you're not going to accomplish them today or tomorrow or next year or in 5 years or even ever, you're keeping them alive in some way. You're keeping that dream front and center, even though it may play on silently, sit back silently in the background as other things take center stage. It's still there. It's still important. You're acknowledging it, and you can find ways to keep it alive over time. So all of us have big dreams. We all have little dreams. We have things that are really tangible, buying a vacation home, traveling more, paying off debt, things like that. Intangible dreams, having healthy kids, things like that. So I want you to I love reading these, so I'm going to have you share just right below. What's a big, giant dream that you would love to accomplish? something that that would just really, really set your life on fire if you were able to accomplish it. Type it down below in the chat box, just right down below here. Ooh, travel to Australia, Wendy. I want to do that too. Dasha, master's degree. Love that. Nonprofit for at-risk youth, Naomi. That's powerful. That's powerful. I love that one. Rick, retire at 50. Rick, how old are you now? Visit every state in the U.S. That's amazing. Travel around the world. Family to Ireland. Rick, 40. So you only have 10 more years to go. It's not too bad. That's not too bad. So there's all kinds of things that can fire us up and can get us excited. And as you shared those out loud on the chat box, it's one of those things where when you tell people and you show up and you actually share what that is out loud, because some of us haven't, some of us have just kept these things in our head, it helps us feel motivated to actually go do it. Because now that someone knows, in your own mind, you're like, oh shoot, somebody knows, I better go do this. At the same time, that other person you told will probably ask you about it at some point. Like, hey Rick, how you doing on your retirement plans? When you're 45, that someone might ask you that. So it's really a two-way motivator for you when you tell someone else, because you're internally motivated to do it because now someone knows. You're externally motivated because that person who knows is going to kind of kick you in the butt a little bit to make it happen. So if you have a big dream, run a marathon, man, that's something that I don't think I could ever do. My knees are going to hurt when I just stand up from this chair when I'm done. Maybe because I don't run marathons. But I mean, look at all these. These are so amazing. Hikes on the Pacific Coast Trail, 100-mile run, visit all the baseball parks. I mean, these are amazing dreams. So keep these things on your life map, keep them front and center. And even if they don't happen right now, find ways to just make them happen in little small ways. I'll give you an example. So one of my dreams is to go live in Spain for a summer with my daughter. She goes to a Spanish immersion school. She turned 10 today. So she's at her Spanish immersion school just 2 blocks away. And I want to take her to Spain for a summer and just immerse, live, hang out, rent a big fancy villa out in the country and drink Spanish wine, me, not her, and just hang out. Right now is not the right time for that. I want her to be a little bit older. I want it to be the right timing. I want to be able to afford the villa that I dream of living in for the summer. Does it mean it's a bad dream? No. It just means for now, that is one of the things that's sitting on my back burner. It's just playing silently in the background while other things take center stage. I will keep that dream alive little by little. I will drink my Spanish wine. I will eat my Spanish smoked meats. I will, help my daughter learn Spanish so that when we go there, we're ready to go. I will look at homeaway.com to find that villa that I'm going to click rent on when we're ready. So you just find ways to keep those giant dreams that may not be happening right away, ways to just keep them alive in a little way, just to give you that fire, give you that energy, to give you that excitement, even when life is busy, even when life is overloaded with all of the other things in some of these other areas of your life. So as you just did just this mini quick snapshot of your life map, I want you to think about honestly, if you were to notice what your stress cues are, and I want you to just take 20 seconds to look at some of the things you wrote down or just reflect on what you were thinking about. And think about the 3 biggest stress cues, the things that set you off into stress, and think about what those are and just jot them down. What are those things? And if you're comfortable, if you're not, you don't have to, but if you're comfortable, just jot down right below, what are some of the biggest stress cues in your life? The biggest cues, the things that set you off. See what we got. Ooh, people are taking a long time. Dealing with difficult people every day. Extreme workload, debt, being late. Yeah, these are common ones. These are really common. Debt is one of the most common stressors that I hear when people do this. Feeling rushed, like right now when we're doing our life map, Brittany. Negative people, not being able to count on someone to follow through. Another debt. No free time, Patrick. I hear you on that one. Yeah, these are good. Worrying about kids' academics, colleges. Oh, Wendy, that's a common one too. Lack of response from others. There's so many things that set us off, and we're all really different. Some people are really, really resilient to certain things and not resilient to others. So the answers are going to be all over the board, which is the way it's supposed to be. All of our lives are different. And so knowing your cues is really critical. And I'm going to tell you what to do with them after we've gone to the other end of the spectrum. And I want you to identify your cures, your stress cures. So in just 20 seconds, just think about, jot down below if you would like to, the things that energize you, the things that fill you up, 3 things that really just make you happy, make you just feel like your life is like you're top of the world. What are those things that totally give you that energy? Chocolate. Yes, Diane, chocolate. Music, reading, yoga, another yoga. Travel, knowing travel's coming up, that's a good one. Look at all that yoga. You guys are from California, aren't you? Here in Minnesota, we'd only have like 1 yoga from me. Gardening, that gardening for me too. Travel. So there's all kinds of things that can cure our stresses, but we aren't actually doing them because we're living a different way. And that leads us to some stress busters that I want to share really quickly to help you think about ways that you can build in those cures more often. Because all of us have different things. Just like we all have different cues, we also have different cures. So I want to give you 3 quick stress busters that you can use right now today that are pretty universal, that most of us will benefit from. The first is fun, cool stuff. Now, when I ask this to live audiences and I say, show of hands, who does not like to do fun, cool stuff? Nobody raises their hand because everybody likes to do fun, cool stuff. So we really need to make it a point to build in time for the stuff that we love to do, those things that you just identified as your stress cures. A lot of times we're not making time. They end up at the bottom of the priority list. You can't do that to yourself. You need to create time for those things, even if it's just 5 minutes a day for those things that you love. Because when you do those things you love, your body's going to shoot out those feel-good chemicals that will instantly knock out those stress chemicals. Doesn't mean the stress will go away or the stressor will go away. Your body will benefit. Your emotions, your attitude, the ways that you behave, the energy you're bringing to a room will benefit. So do fun, cool stuff, even when you don't think you have the time. Second thing, disconnect. We are on technology now, so I'm not telling you to disconnect now. Or really throughout your day, you can't. That's part of our lives, part of our jobs. But when you think about the amount of time that you spend on your cell phone, on your iPad, watching TV, we hear this all the time. You do have time. You're just spending it on dumb technology-based things that aren't moving you ahead. I'll give you a quick example. A couple years ago on Easter, I downloaded an app called the Moment app, M-O-M-E-N-T, the Moment app, and it was on iOS. I don't know about the Droid store, but this was an iOS app. And the app tracks how much time you spend on your cell phone. Now, the disclaimer on this is it was Easter Sunday. Easter Sunday when I was supposed to be going with my family, my parents, my sister and brother to church and all that good stuff. And downloaded the app in the morning because I was working with a client doing some consulting for them, and they were working on a product to help people put their phones away when they were driving. And so he told me about this app, and I'm like, oh, I'm super responsible. I don't use my phone too much. I have rules around it. So I downloaded the app in the morning, went about my day, did all the stuff that you do on Easter Sunday, and got home that night and realized, oh, here's this app. You go to bed and oh, there it is. So I opened it. I spent 4 hours on my phone on Easter Sunday. I was sick, embarrassed, ashamed, so mad at myself that on Easter Sunday, I would have spent that much time on my phone. What a jerk, right? Here's the thing. Every time you can open it and you can see where it tracks the usage, so it tells you, how long each pickup was. It was no time that I picked it up was over 5 minutes. It was little pickups of 30 seconds to a couple minutes, checking Facebook, posting a picture of the ham, liking my friend's Easter egg hunt, checking if I had a text. Little things that in the moment seemed like, oh, yeah, I should do this. It's like, instant gratification. But when you look back, 4 hours of time, imagine what I could do if I had 4 hours of time. I could train for a marathon. I could be super ripped. I could learn a language. I could start a second business. I could spend more time with my daughter. I could do things that I love. And we all have the same challenge. You may think that you're really responsible with your technology usage. You aren't. So just check out those kinds of apps and really track and be honest with where you're spending your time. Because we say we don't have enough time. It's the number one complaint I get with people when they say they want to do more with their life. They want to have more impact. They want to get things done. They want to change things. You do have time. You're just spending it on dumb things. And I'm guilty as well. So the next thing is be a riser. Now, we don't have time to go into this, but I did want to mention it to you because it's pretty important when you're in a traditional office or work environment to look at some of these things. And I'm going to read them quickly and then I'm going to move on because you can go to my Happy Hour Effect podcast on iTunes and you can learn all about the riser mindset and a lot of what I'm talking about today. But a riser is someone who digs deep for themselves. They know what motivates them. They know what they need to do to move ahead. And RISER stands for, and I'll say this twice, resilience, intensity, stability, engagement, and resilience. I'll say it one more time. Results, intensity, stability, engagement, and resilience. Those things are the 5 things that you really need in a corporate traditional work, healthcare, education, any type of work environment to really move up, to move ahead, to move ahead with where you want to be. And you can use them in your personal life as well. So go to my podcast and listen to that one. If you feel like those are some things that you don't know about yourself, where do you fall on some of those things? Because when you can dig deep and know yourself, know what's going to pull you forward, it's really going to make a huge difference in your stress levels and what you're able to accomplish. So that was just kind of the foundation of the happy hour effect is peace. So we really just spent the bulk of our time talking about that. Now I'm going to buzz through the final 4 because these are all directly tied to peace and will really give you some additional color around what you need to do to have more impact next year. Because when you know what you juggle, which we just did with your quick little mini life map exercise, and you start to take some steps to change how you're spending your time between energizers and things that drain you, it will make a huge difference in just the way that you think, the way that you carry yourself, the way that you're able to make decisions, the way you feel emotionally, physically. And so it'll just make a really big difference. And so now we're going to go into the next 4 to help you make more sense of that. The next thing is passion. Now, passion is, as I mentioned before, what you really love to do, the things that you talk about when you're at happy hour and you've let your guard down. And I love this quote, too many of us are not living our dreams because we are living our fears. And people say, well, no, I'm doing what I love to do. And you may be in some ways, but a lot of times there's fear that stops us from really going after what we really want, whether it's something really small or whether it's something really major in our lives. There could be like, oh, I'm afraid of not having the money, or I'm afraid of not having support. I'm afraid of what people will think. I'm afraid I'm not talented enough. There's all these fears that can prevent us from doing something that we're really passionate and excited about. I'm going to tell you a really quick story about how quickly that can happen. So first I want you to imagine that you're on a boat. Boat, that's my Minnesota accent, a boat. You're on a boat and you are anchored offshore. And you're looking at a beautiful tropical scene, just like this. Blue water, you can see the palm trees swaying in the breeze, you can smell the salt air, you can feel your hair blowing. You smell coconut oil, whether it's something you're rubbing on your body or something that's in your cup that you're drinking. And it's ideal. It's a peaceful situation. You're loving it. You love travel. You're with some people that you love on that boat, whether it's friends, family, maybe it's even coworkers, hanging out on this beautiful, amazing, awesome boat. And as you're sitting there, when you're on a boat and you sometimes drag your hand in the water, you kind of look down over the side and you can see the crystal clear water and look down and you feel the bath water. It's so warm. And you look down and you see like maybe 3-4 feet below the surface, there's some coral reef, and it looks sharp. And as you look down there, you think, ugh, that's razor sharp coral. If I fall in there, I'm going to scrape up my legs. And if I fall in there and I scrape up my legs, there's going to be blood. And when there's blood in the ocean, you guys live in California, there's blood in the ocean, what happens? Sharks come and they're going to eat me. If I fall into this water right now, I get bloodied up by the coral. Sharks are going to come. And if I have to swim to that shore, it's too far. I'm not in good enough shape. I'm going to drown. I don't like being on this boat anymore. It's really scary. I don't want to be on the boat anymore. So really quickly, you can go from being somewhere that you absolutely love, somewhere that just absolutely fires you up and makes you feel at peace and like you're really living a passion, living a joy. And suddenly, some very unreal, fake fears rise up and take you down and cause you to not enjoy where you are in the moment. And that really can happen pretty often. How many of you, just do a quick little thing in the chat box below, have ever laid awake in bed, just a yes or no, laid awake in bed and your mind has spun about things that have not yet even happened? Yes, Rick. Yes, certainly. Yes, 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 yes. Look at all those yeses. We've all done it. We've let fear stop us from moving ahead. We've let worry dominate our minds. Things that have not yet even happened, we've been scared of. And this situation on the boat was my actual situation. I was in Panama a few years ago at surf camp. And you can imagine, being from Minnesota, how often I'm going to use those skills of being at surf camp. But I went because I was trying to ease some of the grief after my husband had died and just thought, heck, I want to do it. And I was standing on a boat just like that. And I had to jump into that water. And as I looked down, I had been so excited. I'm like, yes, I'm doing it. And all my girlfriends, they hopped off the boat to surf off of this coral reef that had this amazing wave breaking off of it. And I was terrified. And I could not jump into that water. I stood there, started crying so hard, when like, and I was crying, and the surf instructor Mike from Huntington Beach, who actually had the surfer dude, the stereotype, he actually talked like that. He had the blonde frosted tip hair, Mike, and he was down in the water and he was looking up at me. He had no idea why I was having this meltdown when I had been so excited to get started. And he's yelling at me and he's cursing at me. And then behind him is my friend who I'd known since 7th grade. And she's like, you don't have to jump in. And then there's Mike, jump in the water. You don't have to jump in. Jump in the water. How about that? Type below. Anybody ever gotten mixed messages from people that they should be trusting? Yeah, do it. No, don't do it. Yeah, do it. No, don't do it. We all have gotten those mixed messages. And when that happens, it can really muddy our thinking. And so you really need to learn to dig deep and say, okay, what's my true passion? I'm going after it no matter what. And when you're going after your passions, some of the critical pieces of it is actually how do you get it done? Because, productivity, getting stuff done, is determined by the support and the people and everything that you have around you. So when you think about productivity, I love this image from eatliver.com. Because we all have versions of this cycle of productivity. Check your email, prioritize tasks, check Facebook, fret over creativity block, get coffee and or cookie, which is in between every one of these for me. Short bout of incredible productivity, and then you're motivated. Then you stare blankly at the project. Then you check email, and it goes round and round and round and round. And we all have versions of this where we think we're being productive, but we can't seem to maintain that momentum. And so I want to give you a really quick exercise that you can use to really get clear on what's happening in the moment and if you're focusing on the right things. And people say, well, why is this toilet on the screen? That is actually my toilet. And on the back of it, it says, take time to sit and wonder. Now, why do I have this here? Because when I ask people if they have time to do a little mini meditation during the day, and again, you guys are Californians, you appreciate meditation, right? I'm stereotyping, but you appreciate it way more than my Minnesota compadres do here, because they're like, they think, when I first started doing meditation, they thought I was in a cult. I'm not kidding you. And so I've had to really simplify it and put it in terms that people understand. And so they would say, oh, I don't have any time to myself during the day. I'm running. I'm going to the next thing. Like right now, you guys are all going, she has 12 minutes left. She has to, she better wrap this up because I gotta go to this next meeting. And so I always say, well, you do have time alone every day. You have at least a minute. And they're like, what do you mean? And I said, well, how many times do you go to the bathroom a day? And they'll tell me, and I'll say, I've never met anyone who said they don't go to the bathroom at least once a day. So at least once a day, you use the restroom. Most people's restroom breaks are so fast. They speed there, they speed back. But if you can use them instead to just refocus on what you're doing to make sure that you're on task with your to-do list, with projects, with what you want to get done every day. The first step is to be aware. Walk to the bathroom and just say, okay, where am I at today? How am I feeling? What am I putting out? What am I doing? What are the tasks I'm doing? Is it really what I want to be working on? You do your business. You acknowledge that, yes, I'm on track, or no, I'm off track. And then as you're walking back, wash your hands, go back to your desk or doing what you're doing. Then you say, okay, here's what action I need to take to either stay on track with what I'm doing today because I'm doing the right things, or, oh, I was off track. Here's what I need to do to course correct. I call this P time is me time. I will say that again. P time is me time. And people laugh, but I tell you, this is the number one thing I get emails about, that it has changed people's lives from all over the world that have learned this concept, because it's literally 1 minute to recenter, to get yourself back on track with where you want to be so you can be more productive with the impact that you want to be making at any given moment. So now, what about your team? I'm not going to go into this in depth because we don't have time, but I want to just give you a quick way that you can look at all of the things that you juggle, what your team juggles. I have a life map that you looked at. I also have a work map that's work specific. You just look at the drains and the energizers on both of these, and you look at the time energizers and drains, the people energizers and drains, the task energizers and drains, and the halo effects. A halo effect is where there's an activity that ripple effects out and causes either chaos or awesomeness out beyond the task itself. We don't have time to go into it, but I just wanted you to mention those because a lot of times people say, well, my team needs so-and-so, my team needs this. So I'm going to leave you with that for productivity. So now let's jump into people, because you need people around you to lift you up. You become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. And oftentimes I get people saying, oh, I'm spending time with the wrong people. I don't want to become like them. Here's the thing. We often spend time with a core set of people, 5 people, and we think they're good for everything. And yes, they may be good for some things, but the person that you need to get a promotion at work is a different person than you need to support you if you want to pay off debt, or if you want to lose 20 pounds, or if you want to find a new love. So you need different people for different goals in your life. So I want you right now just to think about who a person is that could help you with a big goal that you have right now that you maybe haven't thought of reaching out to yet. It doesn't have to be a specific person. It could be a financial planner. It could be a life coach. It could be a resume writer. It could be someone at work to help you find a mentor to get a promotion. So just think about that for just a moment. And if you have someone specific in mind, just type it below, a specific person that you know that you could reach out to that would help you get closer to a dream or a goal that you have. Just really quickly, because we're running short on time. Tennis coach. Yes, I played tennis in high school. I mean, I couldn't be a coach, but that's a good one, Lisa. Thank you. So it could be something as simple as that. If you have a goal to learn to be a better tennis player, a tennis coach. Studio 3, wife. See, that's non-specific, but yet specific. It can drive you to look for someone that you need to reach out to for a certain goal. Friend. So there's all kinds of people that you can reach out to for your goals. Now, people can lift you up, but they can also drag you down. Have any of you dealt with people similar to those on this list? I'm not going to read them all. Clueless, lazy point person, micromanager, the bee in cubicle 3, complainers, know-it-alls. There are people like that in our lives that can take us down, can really impact our mood. But then I want to challenge you to think the other way and ask yourself if you have ever been any of these people. Because we often say, oh, I try my best, I put my best out there. It's not always accurate. Oftentimes, we forget that our presence has a direct impact on how we show up, the impact that we're able to make on the world, the way people perceive us, and the way that we are seen by others, whether we're going to get promoted, whether we're going to be respected, whether our kids are going to listen to us. And your presence really is so critical, and your stress levels directly impact that presence. So I want to read this quote because I love it. Your smile is your logo, your personality is your business card. How you leave others feeling after an experience with you becomes your trademark. And this is so true, because you walk into a room and there are hundreds of things that you're showing up with, your body language, your facial expressions, the way that you speak, the way that you're dressed, the way your hair looks, your general appearance, the vibe that you're putting out. And there are hundreds of these that we could talk about. We don't have time for that today. I just want to mention one. Cranky resting face. Now, the C, often replaced by the B word, which we're in good company. We're not going to use bad words. Cranky resting face started in the celebrity world and has actually been shown now that it's moving into traditional work environments, and it's really taking the energy out of meetings, out of negotiations, out of relationships. And it's because when someone's sitting at a table, around a meeting table, or you're at a networking event and you meet someone and you're standing in a group, when someone has this cranky resting face, this look about them, you don't know how to read them. You don't know what to expect. You don't know how to interact with that person. And oftentimes, we have cranky resting face. I am guilty of this. I have cranky resting face often. And I've had to work really hard to get my face, when I'm passively listening, to not look really cranky. These lines right here, covered by my bangs, are from my constant cranky resting face. Not because I'm actually cranky, but because I'm kind of an introvert. I'm kind of impatient. I don't like crowds. So oftentimes it shows up as cranky resting face. This is one of hundreds of ways that you have to master and become aware of your body language, your facial expressions, and what you're putting out into the world. A good way to do that is something called the spectrum of awesome. We all naturally want to be up here on the spectrum of awesome, but oftentimes we are pushed down here, whether it's by ourselves or by someone else. So I want you to think about where you're at. I mean, just think about how awesome you feel right now at this moment. And Jen, I think we have a little poll that we can do right now. Just where you're at on the spectrum of awesome, just rank where you are right now. Do it real quickly. Look at, someone is not at all awesome. Thank you for being honest, everybody. When I do this in a live room, I have people actually get up and go stand. where they're at on the spectrum. It's fascinating. So as you're doing this, I want you to think about if two people are having a not at all awesome day. Like looks like so far there's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people that are on the lower end of the spectrum, and it keeps growing. If two of you down on that not awesome end of the spectrum have to have a meeting or a conversation, how do you think that's going to go? You have to make a decision about something. Probably not going to go very well. You're going to both be in the wrong state of mind. You're not going to be putting out the right energy. On the other end, how about these people up here? These people up here on the super awesome end of the spectrum. If you two have a meeting and you start to have a conversation, your meeting and your decision and your outcome of that meeting is going to go much more positively because you're both encouraging. Your energy's up. You're doing things to help move that along. If someone down here at the 0 end meets someone up here at the 100% awesome end, the job of both of them, or the role of both of them, could accidentally pull each other both to the middle. So if you're wanting it to be up at the super awesome end, you not only have to work on yourself, but you have to work on the people that you're with and pull them up with you. So those are some pretty interesting results, and the spectrum of awesome kind of shows you that that is the case. So Jennifer, if you could pull that poll off of there, I will go to the next slide because a lot of people really get overwhelmed by what I shared. So I just want to leave you with one exercise, and that is to identify, of everything we talked about today, your presence, the people that you surround yourself with, the passions that you have, the productivity that you're able to initiate, the peace that you have in your life. If all of that is overwhelming, everything that I shared with you, you're just like, I don't know what to do to have more impact. This is what I want to leave you with, and that is knowing the 3 words that you want people to say about you when you are not in the room. So just take a quick moment and think about that. What 3 words do you want people to say about you when you are not in the room? And if you're comfortable, just right below here, type a word or 2 or 3 if you're comfortable sharing them. Because those words that you identify about yourself are really what your professional and your personal persona are. And if you can consistently be the same person, personally and professionally, by living and emulating those 3 words and doing things that help make those 3 words true, you're going to create a magnetism that will draw the right people to you consistently over time. It was earlier, someone put it in the chat box, that having someone who acted consistent all the time. And that's the key here with this is, how do you want to be remembered? How do you want people to perceive you? Because when you're using your 3 words, and let's read some of these: gracious, passionate, trustworthy, kind, interesting, Patrick, dependable, interesting, trusting, Wendy, honest, skilled, humorous, Maria, resourceful, honest, reliable. Those words can help drive every decision you make, every mood you find yourself in, every P time is me time. You can think, I want to be these 3 words. Am I being these 3 words today? So really think about that. What are your 3 words? Because it's truly about how you want to be remembered, because how you're remembered is going to determine the impact that you're able to have both at work and at home in 2017. So thank you so much for being here, for listening to the 5 elements of the happy hour effect. I hope that you go and live your 3 words and use P times me time. Think about those people that you need to fill you up and lift you up in your life. If you want more information, if you want to do a workshop for your team or listen to the iTunes podcast and need more info, just email me, Kristen at Kristen Brown Presents, or just check out my website at Kristen Brown Presents. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thanks for having me, and I will look forward to hopefully interacting with you again soon.
Kristen, thank you so much for your presentation. This was so excellent. So many great tidbits and memorable pieces from your stories. So thank you so much for coming today and sharing. This was so much fun. I'm going to switch over to the question layout so we can see any questions coming in. Please do type your questions in for Kristen. And I love with all of the different pieces that you try to find harmony with. That's a really good piece that you can kind of place in your mind and think about as you try to balance everything. There was one thing. I have a question. Or it looks like here. Let me just go to the chat pod. Ro is asking, how do you define awesome? That's a great question, Ro. How would you define awesome, Kristen?
Well, everybody kind of in their gut knows if someone or something is awesome. That's why I use that word, because I've had even CEOs of companies say, gosh, awesome is just, I know what awesome means. awesome is really just someone who brings a light and a positive energy into the room. And you know who those people are. When they walk in, it's like, yes, John's here, Jane's here, Sue's here. Then there are the people that walk into a room and it's like, oh, shoot, Rob's here, Rick's here, Dave's here. And that is really how it's that inner gut feeling, that emotional connection that you feel with someone that determines whether they're awesome or not. And it's really about that energy, that all the things we talked about today that you're putting out into the world that will determine if you are really putting out that awesome vibe. And heck, just ask some of your trusted friends, because I had a friend once tell me that I had cranky resting face, and that was the first time I knew and became aware of it. So ask trusted friends, what could you do to improve your energy and your vibe?
That's a great way to put it. And minus the cranky resting face. I love that slide, those photos. And the looking up and down it's classic. I do have a question here from Jonna. Jonna's asking, where can we watch this again? And this will absolutely be posted on Central Station U. We'll put the, actually, David, if I could ask you if you wouldn't mind just putting in the link to where folks can find this recording. We'll put it up later today so you'll have access to it. And also want to mention that Kristen has generously, as I mentioned before, she's offered her PowerPoint. It's going to be on the left side of your screen in the downloadable resources pod. All you do is click on it and then select download file, and you can also download her life map, a blank map that she reviewed, so you can actually write out your own as well. So getting a lot of great comments here, Kristen. We are at the end of our time. I wish we had another hour to spend with you. This was so much fun. I want to make sure everyone knows where to find out more about you, and also as we know, you're a keynote speaker, and they're welcome to bring you or have you as a special guest, hopefully, if can arrange that to their campus as well, or maybe even via another webcast. But you are at KristenBrownPresents.com, and there are several different types of areas and subjects that you speak on as well. So this was really a treat today. I just want to thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much. It was such a blast.
Awesome. Awesome. We want to wish your daughter a happy birthday today. Happy 10th birthday.
Thank you.
Sending out good energy from California to your daughter. And have a great rest of the day. And I want to also remind everybody on January 31st, we'll be having our next CSU's Got Talent at 10 a.m. Jill Geisler will be our guest, talking all about what great bosses know and her book as well. So we look forward to seeing you again then. And with that, I wish you a wonderful day, and we'll see you again on another CSU's Got Talent webcast. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.